All right, what's up, guys? This is the part 2 of the interview with Daniel Reynolds. So, man, I've had this this chocolate here, and it's a company that I've been basically like raving about to anyone who comes to my place. It's quite funny. Like, I'll invite a friend or two around and like just cook dinner, chill out, whatever. And at the end, I'll bring this out, you know.
Yeah.
And I'll bring it out, and I'll be like, "So, guys, this is Original Beans chocolate. Like, try it.
Yeah.
And it tastes good, right?" They'll be like, "Yeah." And I'll be like, "Do you know why it tastes so good?" They'll be like, "Why?" I'll be like, "It was made by a tribe in Colombia." And they'll be like, "Whoa!" And then I tell them the whole story, you know. And
Spaced out.
to cut a long story short, the reason why I love this company so much, Original Beans. By the way, they're not sponsoring this. They don't really even know who I am, I don't think.
But if you want to, Original Beans, we do like the chocolate. So.
We do love the chocolate. And basically, the reason I like this so much is because the company is completely carbon neutral, I think is a good way to say it, or carbon negative. I don't know if you'd say carbon positive or negative, but...
Positive.
The basic idea is that in every step of their process, they are reducing the amount of carbon. So like the idea is by existing, this company benefits nature. And like to me, that was a complete like brain explosion because I was like, wait, you can have like they're not a non-profit, you know. So it's like by having not a charity, not a non-profit, but a company, a profitable business. By having that, you can actually make, you know, you can improve or how to say it, like. Make nature more, make nature better, not have any impact on nature. And like, that to me was incredible. And basically how they do it is, a large part of it is planting trees. They've planted over 1 million trees already. Basically 1 bar plants a tree. I know that isn't the be-all, end-all solution, just planting trees, but they also do a lot of other things, such as working directly with with the people that produce the chocolate. It says here, they support stewardship of ancient cultures and the creatures it protects, as well as just using, for example, this packaging, which is completely made out of trees, both things. This is actually completely biodegradable. The story is that to work with this tribe in Colombia, they went over there, you know, the guy introduced himself, they introduced the company, and the tribe then said, okay, we'll work with you, but can you please get this, put it in the ground, and if it is decomposed in 3 months, then, you know, we can work with you. And if not, then, you know, you're full of shit and we won't. They put it in the ground, covered it in earth. They went back 3 months later and it was completely gone. It was completely decomposed. They started working with the tribe. But what I would kind of, the reason I'm leading in with this story is that obviously, I don't know what the percentage would be, but like almost all of the plastic in the ocean is some kind of packaging, right? I know there's the fishing nets is a big problem.
Yeah.
But really what plastic is packaging, right? Basically.
Most of it is packaging, cigarettes, and if we look at it, most of it is just petrol being leaked around into the ocean. If you want to really look at the...
But petrol being a type of plastic, or...
No, I'm just talking about what plastic is made out of. And
I see.
The components or everything.
I see. Right.
Not like literal petrol in the ocean, but that also, I guess, is some areas.
From the plastic.
But yeah.
Okay.
Plastic, yeah, we've got all sorts of different types of plastic in the ocean. Packaging probably being the number one we find on our beach cleanups, and worldwide plastic packaging is a big one. After cigarette butts, they're also plastic and they're everywhere.
Right. So like if packaging is the main problem or one of the main components,
Yeah.
how can we, or how can businesses, or how can people basically like start thinking about ways to resolve that problem?
It's a good question, and I tell you what, it's not an easy question to answer, and it's certainly
Yeah, mate.
Something we haven't got the complete solutions for yet, but we're getting there. I want to say that it's something we need to put so much attention towards. Plastic packaging, it is one of the most unnecessary plastics you find in the oceans. I mean, plastics wrapped up in bananas, which are also wrapped up in plastics. You know, like so double plastic packaging on bananas and things. Like you can even imagine some of the stuff
wrapped up in bananas, or bananas wrapped up in plastic.
I'm gonna no, yeah. So double plastic packagings, right? They're becoming more and more popular, and it just doesn't make any sense. And we know that we can change that. However, we're fighting against the convenience and this kind of consumerism that we've been building for the last 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
So how do we change that? Now, the packaging that you just showed me, this is one step forwards, right? Now, I want to stay on the kind of positive side, but I also want to open up our minds to like, what is this stuff? Because I don't know fully that company, and I know lots of companies are going towards fully compostable and fully biodegradable. Is that the solution? I think that's definitely a huge part of the solution. Is this currently in today's world benefiting the environment? No. Because let's look at it like how many houses currently have compostable units? How many people that are buying all these different materials understand what biodegradable means and the difference between the biodegradable plastic and a normal plastic, how to dispose of it and where.
Right.
Now, we've got this bit of a circle going on. We've got the recycling centers, we've got the fabrication, we've got the delivery, we've got the shopping centers, we've got people buying it, and then you've got the bins and recycling and everything.
Yeah.
Now, currently biodegradable products, it sounds brilliant, right? It biodegrades, it naturally goes back to being nature, right?
Right, sounds perfect.
It sounds perfect, but we've got this problem on, currently there's like no set procedure for it, in the sense of many of these packagings, they're going into normal bins or going into recycling bins.
Right.
And we've got recycling companies that or normal recycling companies saying, well, we haven't got enough to do anything with it properly. Biodegradable plastic usually needs to be treated very specifically and certain heats and temperatures. And then you've got the compostable side of things where it might be compostable, but who's composting it? And if it doesn't get composted, how long will it live for?
Right.
We've seen documentaries where we're finding newspapers from 30, 40 years ago, which is completely legible and normal. Now, it's not in comparison to plastic damaging the environment like plastic is, but we definitely need to look at it of thinking, okay, it's biodegradable, it says green, I'm 100% corn, that's fine, I can just chuck it away.
Yeah.
It doesn't work quite like that.
That's funny because that is literally how, I think it was basically before I met you, I was just thinking like, well, you see a product, right? And it markets itself. It's like organic, sustainable, whatever. You usually pay like twice as much for it as well. And this is kind of what I was doing. I was just like, and it made me feel good, you know? You go out and you'd see, you know, in the shampoo section, you see like, you know, Head and Shoulders, normal bulk standard shampoo. Then you see like organic green shampoo. It's like perfect, twice the price, but okay, whatever. Then you go, you know, you buy a piece of clothing, and it might even be from like Zara or whatever, but it says like this was ethically produced, and you're like, oh, sweet. Yeah, it makes me feel good buying that, you know.
Absolutely.
Or any kind of product.
Yeah.
But then once you start learning you educate yourself about what is actually going on, then you realize that so much of this is just marketing.
Yeah.
It make them have a great profit margin.
Yeah, absolutely.
I still think though it's like better them not doing it because it shows a couple of things. It shows that people and a growing amount of people do prefer to buy that kind of stuff, which is great. They're at least half conscious about it, and that the companies are recognizing that and being like, okay, let's try and make this 5% more sustainable. We'll market it as like going to save the world. It's only really 5% more sustainable, but even that change is a change.
Yeah. So that movement is incredible, and I love it, and I love to see it. When I see biodegradable package, even though I know a lot more about it, and maybe I now look at it thinking, I'm not going to touch it, maybe. Most of the time I don't try not to touch it because that's a great way we're going. However, we're at a point where everybody is now choosing green, sustainable, eco-friendly, all these kind of things, and biodegradable. However, if they're not currently set up to benefit the environment or not cause any damage to the environment,
Yeah.
then we're going to grab hold of this new trend and get so caught up with it that it's going to take us another 50, 60 years in order to change that.
Right.
Now,
Yeah.
biodegradable products, the idea and everything behind it is great. However, if no one can dispose of a biodegradable cup, it's going to live for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years in these anaerobic conditions or in the oceans.
Yeah.
So therefore, it's no different to a plastic cup. And possibly if it does start to biodegrade, there's many different ways that, like, the way it biodegrades is because they add stuff towards the way it's been designed so that it biodegrades quicker. They make it out of different components. That side of things is quite scientific, and I won't go into that. But the argument is when it does fully biodegrade, is it releasing more damaging elements into the environment than what a normal traditional plastic cup would, because it doesn't fully break down into break these bonds down, right?
So you're saying if that process doesn't happen completely, it could in a way damage the environment more because there's other random stuff in there that if it isn't, composted in the way it should be, then it's going to do damage.
Certainly one of the arguments. The second, and then you've got this other argument where you mentioned a little bit about carbon negative and all this. Is like these companies that are going towards it, they're doing great, and I love it. And like the positive thing on this is if you are going towards more eco and friendly and green, great. I'm not telling you to stop. I just want to open your mind up to let's go all the way back to the start. And this is where Cradle-to-Cradle comes in.
Right.
And it is literally like when you design a product, you think about where it goes at the end. And actually not having an end, because what you want to do is you want to turn everything into something that actually does benefit in the environment in terms of maybe its nutrients for the soil or the microorganisms, or in technical terms, if it cannot be nutrients for the environment, then it can be perpetually turned around and round and round, and you can always recycle it, but it never has any kind of like offset of bad things for the environment or damages anything at all.
Right. So this is like the overall concept, right? Is this cradle-to-cradle design? Yeah. Do you know what the cradle as a word? Why was that chosen as for this concept?
I'm not sure why the word cradle, because the opposite is cradle to grave.
Cradle to
right? Which is the linear direction of thinking, which is what we're currently living in.
Yeah.
And which is everything goes to a bin and then nothing happens with
it
potentially
magically
recycled,
disappears, right?
Yeah.
But then, so cradle to cradle is basically the concept of you have something, it then has a second life and a third life and then infinite lives.
Always. It doesn't. It will always be either food to the environment or it can be continuously forever recycled.
Right.
Back into it, but it never has any kind of anything that damages the environment at all.
So.
And that is actually benefiting the environment, not neutral.
Right.
Because their argument about it is like maybe a package, for example, that they're reducing their carbon footprint.
Yeah.
Or let's not use carbon, because let's use they're reducing the bad that they're doing to the world.
Yeah.
But they're reducing it from this much to this much. So in the end of all this, ultimately they're still doing bad for the environment.
Yeah.
The idea of this cradle to cradle is you're actually doing good for the environment.
Yeah.
You're not doing less bad. Right. You're doing good. So it's very interesting, and it takes like the way we think in the book that. One of the first books they had about this cradle-to-cradle design, remaking the way we make things. Mm-hmm. And it really looks at everything comes back to design. Currently, we've got this linear direction with things being created for our use, whereas cradle-to-cradle takes it back to we design things that actually are for the environment. We just prepare it or borrow it until it gets there.
Yeah.
And that's a really nice way of thinking.
Okay.
So yeah, I would, if you haven't looked at that, I would definitely suggest going over and have a look at Cradle-to-Cradle.
It's definitely on my reading list now, man. Mm-hmm. I would say what is something, or what are a few actions that let's say the average listener or viewer can take from this, because this is a situation I found myself in, and I know a lot of other people, is like you're motivated to do something, and you find like a purpose in I want to help stop this problem, but then you hear a million different things and you have no idea actually what to do, because I've read multiple articles that say you can kind of waste your time obsessing about turning every light off in your house and thinking you're doing a good thing, but they're actually, if you put that energy into doing something else, you could make a much greater impact.
Absolutely.
So do you have anything to share?
Well, I would say, because this is a really tough one, and this is actually my goal right now, is to turn Cradle to Cradle into something that's shorter, less complicated, and fun. Like everything I'm trying to do is make it fun and interesting. If not, good luck. You won't turn everyone into that.
For sure.
I would say that the fun thing about it is like this new way of thinking. First of all, we've got like this new way of thinking. It's like, oh, maybe we can actually do good to the environment, and humans aren't always destructive. A way to compare this is ants. Like ants, the biomass of ants compared to us humans, there's so many more of them.
Yeah.
There's so much more of them than compared to us. And they're not damaging the environment. They're actually benefiting the environment. Over hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these years,
yeah, that's true.
They've been benefiting the environment so much because they're part of this ecosystem. And what they do and how they eat, and you get the point.
That's fascinating.
Now,
I didn't think about it
if
like
they
that.
can do that, sure, we're completely different, but if we learn from nature rather than learning from ourselves, we learn from nature because nature is the end or it is everything. We learn to design things based on nature. We can still have technology. We can still do all these beautiful things. So I think the way that we can actually make this practically something in our own lives, how we can move forward with this in our own lives, understanding that what we're talking about now is like, how do we change the design? Like, I'm just an everyday person. I don't even know how they fabricate things, who's doing it, what big companies are involved. I think the first thing I would actually say, now this might sound a little bit, how is this actually doing anything? But I would first take the step to understanding the connection we do have with nature. And once we understand that connection we do have with nature, and understanding that, say, the laws of, nature and how the environment actually works, we will be this little bit more conscious in our day-to-day lives. When just opening up your mind and actually looking at the things you're touching in your day-to-day life and thinking, what is this? Where is it going? How can I, what can I do with this? Where does it have an end life? And just asking yourself little questions. Now, I'm going to kind of contradict myself a little bit and to do something that's really practical right now, and that is to remove the bad things that you don't have in your life, because I still do think that even if you're doing less bad, you're still doing less bad, and that is better than not doing more bad, right?
Right.
So even though I don't think that's the long-term solution,
Yeah.
it's the step towards that.
Right.
Because once you understand how you can start removing out these carcinogenic plastics from your life, and you can switch it up with, the cloth bags or whatever in order to reduce your carbon footprint. Again, contradictory to what Cradle to Cradle is, but I think that's a good step towards going there.
So you're saying that the concept and the idea of Cradle to Cradle is a long-term thing that is, I don't want to shift responsibility, but it is in a way more of the responsibility of business owners or governments in a way, or innovators, to start thinking like that. Although it is obviously something that we need to push and keep in mind.
Yeah.
The actual thing that we can do as, let's just say consumers, is to actually, for now, focus on reducing our own impact.
Yeah, I would add on to that is like, at the moment, and as I mentioned before, the way we're going is we're creating all these new changes, but we might get lost and still do bad with all this new biodegradable stuff and all of that. So what I would say is raise your voice, get active, kind of raise these questions, but also get onto these long-term solutions that we might not be able to go, boom, let's do it right now, but we can start talking about it more. And because so many companies have no idea what Cradle to Cradle is and circular economy and how they can really actually benefit the planet and not. Because we're talking about carbon zero and all that. Well, carbon is everything, and carbon might not be bad if we look into it in the way how it can be beneficial.
Right.
So I think it's finding a way how that we can raise the voice, and actually raise the voice with the right direction, saying, hey, look, this is good what we're doing right now with the bioplastics and compostables, but we need to do more. We need to do a little bit better than that.
Okay.
I know that's like kind of a way of saying, hey guys, I don't have the answer, but here's something we can do. But we're at that point of
I think in a way that is an answer, because you're basically saying that you're not right now giving people 3 tips to reduce their impact the most, but you're saying that the thing that will actually make the most difference in the long term, rather than just obsessing over reducing your consumption or whatever, is also getting active and raising your voice and speaking out against and speaking out for the things that you believe in.
Yeah.
So I mean, what that all comes down to first is like the biggest thing that you can do for yourself is to actually educate yourself.
Absolutely.
So that would be essentially. No, I completely understand what you're saying, because there isn't. I mean, this is where I find it frustrating that there isn't really like a list of things that these are the things that you can do in your day-to-day life to save the environment the most, because it doesn't really work like that.
Yeah.
And like the best advice isn't maybe the advice that you're looking for, but the best advice from what you're saying would be to, number one, educate yourself, pick up a few books. That it maybe is something you can offer a list of 2 or 3 books, and then get active and speak out against what you then believe from those sources is the right thing. Speaking out against businesses, governments, whatever, or people, and speaking out for what you believe in the solutions that you've read from these books.
Absolutely. I think we definitely need that mind shift of, let's not look to just, and this is the same when it comes to medicine and laws and all these things. Let's not look to just reduce, let's actually look to prevent these things. Like the plastic problem is like, we're looking at cleaning it up. I do beach cleanups, but that's not the goal. The goal isn't let's just keep cleaning and get better at cleaning. No, let's create a way of living, the lifestyle, the society, the community that we're living in, that we don't need to clean up. Let's create one that we've prevented it from happening, and we've got this new way. Now I know you might think, you can never change a system like that, but man, like, we're all making movements. Activists all over the world, following these different paths. They're making movements. We're making changes. We're at the point with internet and such a connected way of raising voices right now and being heard. We're at the point where we really can decide our future, the future for our children as well.
Right.
I think it's really important to realize how much our voice can make a difference, and how each person can make a difference as well.
That's awesome. So if you want to hear more of Dan's voice, go to his Instagram, his YouTube. That's all linked down in the description below. You said it in the last episode too. And yeah, get reading. If there's something we can finish this episode with, are there a couple of books that you would recommend?
I'm just going to give that one recommended book, which is the Cradle-to-Cradle Design, Remaking the Way We Make Things, because that will open up your mindset towards going down your own little path. It kind of just connects you back to the nature.
Who's that by? Who's the author?
That is by, I think it's a co-written book, but it's by William McDonough.
William McDonough, Cradle-to-Cradle.
Bill McDonough, yeah.
Perfect.
So, no.
All right, man. It's been great having you on.
Oh, mate. Let's do this. Let's save the world.